Stage clear, backstage science here. With House of the Dragon Season 2 about to be released, my brain keeps going back to a conversation I was having with my friends about why, visually, the characters in House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones feel so different. Beyond it just being like two really different periods in time, we're talking like hundreds of years of difference. I know a lot of the hatred is around the wigs and how the wigs are done in Game of Thrones versus House of the Dragon, and I think I finally figured out the wording that I want to use between them. In Game of Thrones, it felt like the wigs had actually been lived in. Now, there's a solid reason for this. During the production of Season 1 of House of the Dragon, which was filmed from March 2021 to February 2022, there was an issue with being able to source blonde wigs as no manufacturer had them in stock. The pandemic and subsequent lockdown had caused such a backup in the wig production industry, and the shows that were being shot in 2021 were heavily affected. The process of bleaching a synthetic wig isn't always an option, and honestly, a lot of them do not hold up against those chemicals. Especially with House Valerian, the materials that make up wigs, especially with them being synthetic, they can't match the style of black hair. You need Indian hair wigs. Indian hair wigs, they're 100% human hair, typically from one particular donor. And the only way to achieve that black hair texture properly. When the pandemic in 2020 caused a worldwide shutdown of most industries that weren't a necessity, wig manufacturers were on the places, they closed down. All of them did. The company sold off what stock they had prior to the shutdown, so when filming started up again in the later half of 2020 and into 2021, it was impossible, to be quite honest, in trying to procure wigs for a series. Now, what I'm going to say is speculation, going off of what I could find, but I have a feeling the wigs that we do see on screen, particularly in Season 1, they were found from either other sets or found in the back of props departments or wardrobe departments. And why I have this reasoning is because within an interview with Olivia Cooke, who plays Alison Hightower in the series, to quote, "And you got all these battle scenes where the wigs get destroyed from all the blood and gunk that's being thrown around. You could see the despair from the hair and makeup team," she says. With how rare and hard to get these wigs were, on top of the time it took to style and fit them to each actor, I can only imagine how hard it would be to see the wigs go through the messes that the ones on set did. If you're curious if any other productions had this same issue, Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender had it as well, specifically Yue's wig. It's likely why it looks so weird and so off compared to all the other ones in the series, also when you compare it to the original movie that we definitely don't talk about. But even without the ability to procure the wigs, many of them felt like they were missing character. Like you could exchange them between the characters and not really notice a difference. Hair is one way people are able to express themselves. I get that dragon riders want their hair pulled back out of their faces the majority of the time, and there's history with the houses of Old Valyria that they use braids as markers for their event in their lives. So it doesn't make sense why they're all just kind of flat and back and just pulled back out of their faces with no fun stylings that we see even Daenerys having at the beginning of the series. So with the inability to get good white or blonde wigs for Wild, coupled with the fact that synthetic wigs are made out of straight hairs and not coils like black hair, the actors in House Valerian and the people apart from their hair and makeup teams had it set up to fail for no fault of their own. Sure, an experience with black hair could be a factor. When you're part of a hair and makeup team, you need to know how to work with all types of hairs. But as fans, we need to be understanding that there are things when it comes to productions that are out of department's controls. So yes, get mad at productions when they damage people's hair because the hair and makeup artists don't know how to work with it. But absolutely do not lose it on productions who did the best with what possibly could have been the worst hands you could have been dealt in this particular situation for this show. Anyways, this is Backstage Science signing off, and are you ready to pick a side?